First of all, you do know that Christopher Robin was a real person, right? A worldwide celebrity, to be precise. And yeah, Winnie the Pooh and his stuffed animal toy friends were real too. Well, the sad part of this story is that the real-life Christopher Robin actually hated the innocent Pooh who accidentally almost ruined his life.
Look, you've got all these creatures and everyone...
Billy! Billy! Hey, that's enough!
If you haven't read the original books about the charming bear of not-so-little brain, you've certainly watched the wonderful Disney series about the stuffed animal friends of Christopher Robin. They play together in the forest, and wonderful adventures brighten up their days, as well as ours, aren't they?
Oh dear, perhaps it wasn't such a very good idea after all.
Yet the reverse side of the medal is much darker than anyone could imagine. This wonderful children's book, translated into 50 languages and famous all over the world, ruined the lives of everyone who participated in its creation. Its author, Alexander Milne, its first illustrator, Ernest Shepard, the author's son and the key protagonist, Christopher Robin, and everyone who tried to cash in on the sales of the characters. To be honest, I was pretty ignorant about all of that until recently. Well, of course, I loved Pooh and his friends, and I enjoyed the Disney cartoon interpretation. I guess my favorite was Tigger. Yet I somehow never looked behind the happy image of childhood fun in the woods until now.
1, 2, 3.
I think we probably need more floaty breath.
And yeah, this true story made it into a movie released in 2017. It's called Goodbye, Christopher Robin. Not everything happened the way it was shown there, but I won't give here any spoilers. I'll just use some cool footage from it in the video as an illustration.
Excuse me, are you?
No. No, he's not.
Yes, he is.
He was. He's not anymore.
I don't understand.
Would you excuse us, please?
It might be hard to imagine, yet sometimes the blessing of fame and huge income turns into the real curse you wouldn't wish even for your worst enemy. Here is how it all happened with the Milnes and Winnie the Pooh. Alexander Milne was a rather successful writer even before the first poems and books about Pooh saw the light. Although he has been studying mathematics at Trinity College in Cambridge, he was an avid contributor to a student literary magazine. His works caught the attention of the already established British humour magazine, Punch, which would eventually become a home for Milne's future works for years to come. You see, this again was a blessing as well as a trap for the young author. The public loved his humorous verse and essays and kind of resented his change of literary direction. Milne himself valued his liberty in choosing the subject for his work above everything, so he boldly changed genres despite the protests of his publishers. Usually it's not what they recommend you to do if you already found your niche, right? Yet the case of Milne proves that there are exceptions and one should keep searching and trying and making mistakes and learning from them as long as she or he wants to. As a result of his literary experiments, he became known as a successful stage play and screenwriter, wrote a popular murder mystery, and even his war-inspired non-fiction brought him loyal audience and admirers. All that happened before and after the First World War, and despite the break from Milne's military service at the front, brought him wide acclaim in Britain and overseas. Yet the tsunami of public love and attention was still there, round the corner.
I thought when people liked a book, it was the author they sought out too. All anyone wants to talk about is Christopher Robin.
His son, Christopher Robin Milne, was born in 1920. His younger years corresponded with the writer's search for new ways for his own creativity, and the family was going through rather shaky times of turbulence. It is known that his parents, his mother, Daphne Milne in particular, were expecting a girl and even chose a name, Rosemary. So the arrival of a boy already imposed some tension of unmet expectation on the child right from the beginning. The family bought Coachford, a country house in East Sussex, and spent their summers and holidays. They also hired a Scottish nanny, Olive Rand Brackwell, who was attached to the boy 24/7. He grew very fond of Noo, as he called her, and in older years even dedicated his memoirs to her. Alice to millions, but Noo to me.
How do you feel now looking at all these toys that you used to know so well? Does it move you?
It does, certainly does, yes.
Interestingly, Christopher Robin's own nickname in the family at the time was Billy Moon, and he received his teddy bear as a gift for his first birthday and later named him Edward.
Why don't you hold?
Oh, isn't he lovely? Oh, he's just the same, isn't he lovely? He doesn't look worn a little bit.
The now common legend says that when Christopher Robin was about 5, he went with his father to the London Zoo, where he was impressed by the Canadian black bear called Winnie, after Winnipeg. Winnie was a girl, that didn't stop Milne the son from giving her name for his Edward, and Milne the writer from transferring it to his character.
Ernest.
Milne?
I think I've got something for us.
Somehow, without initial planning, A.A. Milne was enchanted by the flight of a child's imagination. So, the toys of his son and their joint walks in the nearby forest resulted in the first poem, and then the books featuring all those characters. There was Winnie the Pooh, and Piglet, and Eeyore, and Tigger, and Kanga, and the little Roo. All of them were actually real-life toys that belonged to the writer's son and took part in his imaginary adventures. Then there was Christopher Robin himself, just the way he was in real life, with all his plays and mischiefs and innocent child soul. And even his nanny was also there. In fact, only Rabbit and Owl were created by Milne's imagination. What a charming creation, separated from real-life issues or problems, right? Back at the time, it became a real distraction for people mentally exhausted by the horrors of war years, and perhaps living in anticipation of the new World War coming.
Everyone in England seems to be cross. Strikes, protests, even you seem cross.
Milne himself had PTSD after his military years, so perhaps this children's fiction was a safe harbor for him too. No wonder Winnie the Pooh stories gained immediate popularity at home and abroad. Milne was praised to the sky and quickly became a millionaire. Yet the key star was his son, Christopher Robin. You see, the idea that your favorite fictional character has a prototype in real life does actually look fascinating, doesn't it? My own channel is based on this phenomenon. And now think as if you are an actual child of 6-7 years old, and you suddenly learn that the guy whose adventures you follow in the books does really exist. And he is also 6 years old, just like you. And you can write to him, you can meet him, you can talk to him and take a photo together. Wow, that's totally mind-blowing, right? And now put yourself in the shoes of this 6-year-old real-life prototype. You were just living your normal life. It wasn't much different from the other kids around. You used to go to play in the woods, you had your toys, your nanny, your parents. That was basically your world, and you were familiar and ready for it. And then, suddenly, you became a worldwide celebrity. All eyes are on you. They want you at the book presentation here and there. They ask you to come for radio and TV. They all want to touch and play with your toys. You barely see your parents anymore. They became your managers, and you just receive your daily and weekly agendas of carefully planned appearances, interviews and photo shoots. And you did nothing wrong. You didn't even notice how it happened.
Thank you very much for this interesting conversation.
Thank you, Master Christopher.
Goodbye.
Can I just ask about...
Well done. That's the last interview for today.
At first, that was even funny. I loved my nanny, I loved Coachford. I also quite liked being Christopher Robin and being famous, later remembered Milne. Yet the real collapse of the world of the young Christopher Robin Milne was coming further. At the age of 9, Christopher Robin was sent to boarding school. Right before that, his father released the second book, which became no less popular, and gave a hint that he would leave his foreign friends and go to school. I guess at that point the family started to realize what harm they had done to their only son.
I'm not going to write about Christopher Robin again. Or Winnie the Pooh, or Tigger, or any of them. Not another word.
They thought perhaps that the new life at school, out of the limelight of TV shows and newspaper reporters, would bring some peace to the boy who obviously was struggling, trying to cope with the sudden intrusive fame.
And the day will come, it won't be long, when everyone will have forgotten all about Winnie.
It didn't work. It only got worse. You know, they often say that children can be awfully mean sometimes. Well, they were mean to Christopher Robin all the time. Indeed, for them he was an outlier, someone they knew everything about. His secret thoughts, his imaginative friends, his mistakes and weak points. Oh, that was cruel. In his memoirs, Milne the Jr. confirmed that it was during his school years, when a boy was growing up into a young adult, that he was bullied like no other. It was then that he also grew estranged from his parents and all that Winnie the Pooh stuff that was stuck to him as with a glue.
Do stop talking about that blasted bear. I want the chance to be Private Milne. Anonymous. A real person.
It seemed to me almost that my father had got where he was by climbing on my infant shoulders, that he had filched from me my good name and left me nothing but empty fame, he would say later. Milne seemed to grasp his role in exploiting his son, and later wrote that he felt amazement and disgust at his son's fame. Christopher Milne, as he preferred people calling him in adult life, refused to take any proceeds from the books that ruined his childhood and bruised his mental health.
If I take the money for it, then I have to be Christopher Robin, and I'm not Christopher Robin.
You're Billy Moon.
No, I'm Private Milne. Never been happier.
He moved away to Dartmouth and opened a bookshop there and tried to live a quiet and peaceful life on his own. Only in the 1960s, after the death of his father, Christopher felt okay to talk about his experience of growing up as a child star. He always hated the idea of commercializing his own childhood memories, so he didn't mind at all when in 1987 his own original toys were donated to the faraway New York Public Library, where they have been on display ever since, with a sad exception for Roo, who was lost in the orchard in the 1930s.
How do you feel about all these animals being sent to America?
Well, really, I don't mind, because they've really been well looked after, haven't they?
Yes, they have.
Although he managed to somewhat reconcile with his father, he never became close with his mother. Soon after the Second World War, which both Milnes took part in, Christopher married his first cousin, Leslie de Selincourt, the daughter of his mother's brother. This reportedly broke Daphne's heart, since she was estranged from her family for some reason and had her own dreams of marital prospects for her son. As a result, she refrained from seeing and talking to him for the last 15 years of her life, and even refused his visit on her deathbed. By the way, have you noticed that there isn't a single notion of Christopher Robin's mother in the books? Looks like there was a reason for that. Otherwise, someone had a really good intuition.
No matter what I do, someone finds out and then hell.
As soon as I understood, I stopped writing it. What else could I do?
Nothing.
So, the author, the father, was typecast and forever attached to that silly old bear. And all his Pooh works amounted in total to just 70,000 words, the equivalent of a small paperback. The same fate was shared by the celebrated illustrator Ernest Howard Shepard.
You know, I never wanted fame or the brass band on my birthday.
What did you want?
I wanted you, Blue.
The protagonist, the son, grew traumatized, hating his childhood and his parents, refusing to have any connection to the universally beloved characters. In other words, all three came to resent Winnie the Pooh. It appears like only Daphne Milne, the mother, didn't protest selling rights here and there and never lost a chance to make some profit. However, in this, she lost her son forever. I don't want to leave you with a bitter taste in your mouth regarding Winnie the Pooh and Christopher Robin's story. I guess you understand, this child fame was an unprecedented novelty for the time. I don't think that his parents were cruel enough to deliberately exploit their son for financial gain. Well, it turned out they did, but I'm sure, or let's say I want to believe that if they knew how it would all turn out, they wouldn't do that again. Now, 100 years after that, we already know what fame of such magnitude could do to a person's life. This may break an adult, so what to say about a 6-year-old? Back then, it was all new, certainly unintended, and it just evolved the way it did. Nobody was ready to accept the outcome. And how do you feel about this story? I'd be happy if you decide to share your opinion in the comments. And yeah, if you like this kind of stories and the epic, don't miss my video about Arthur Conan Doyle and the hoax with real fairies. See you there! Bye!